And we are back
We're back.
for the second time today to record the exact same episode because I didn't turn the mixer on last time.
A little oopsies.
A little hour of episode that you will never see because the audio sounds like I'm talking through a microphone that's in a tin can 25 miles below the Earth's surface in a submarine.
And it's all going through a fan.
Yeah, it sounds like shit. So there's that.
Well, I'm excited. I found a keto recipe for s'mores.
So give them your plant update. Let's run through this all over again.
I got new plants. And I'm pretty excited. And I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking about hitting up Lowe's before I pick up the kids today just to ponder, take a look real quick.
Yeah, didn't you find some rare plant at Walmart for like $10?
I did. I found White Knights. They're $19.99, not $9.99, $19.99 at Walmart. And I bought 2 of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. I stepped into my little plant area this morning. You know, I was wiping my eyes. And I looked around at my plants and I saw them sitting there and I was like, oh, it was a dream. They're here. They were on my plant list, like one of my dream plants. And I found them at Walmart. I had them in my Etsy cart. And to have them shipped would have been about $150.
For a plant.
Yes.
That you found at Walmart for $20.
Correct. Yeah.
Wild. That's the same excitement that I get when I find bourbon on the shelf at cost versus secondhand market where they've in the liquor store marked it up because they do that.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I want to try and go and see if they have any like rare monsteras or anything. I'm trying to find, it's called the Pink Princess. Philodrone. The plant's called Phil something. I'm just going to call it Pink Phil. I'm looking for Pink Phil.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that I can find her somewhere. So that might be my little treat for myself today before I go get my passport photo and pick up the kids.
Is that a bulb thing that you can buy in bulbs like you did at the Bach Gardens?
No, I don't believe so. I don't know if they come from bulbs. I'm not that into them yet. I'm doing a lot of research now. I'm going to let them acclimate before I repot them. I don't know. Maybe they come from bulbs. We'll see. The ones that I was going to get from Etsy were already sprouted.
Yeah.
And that's why they cost more.
So what else do we need to go over? I don't remember.
Oh, I'm vlogging now. I'm vlogging my plants. That's happening. All the new plants I got yesterday, the ones that we already have. I might take you guys to my plant graveyard and just show you where they are now, helping other plants thrive in the yard.
Is that over by the other side of the gym?
No.
Where are you doing this at?
Right up next to the house. You can't tell, though, because it's nice and pretty. Right? It looks good.
I don't walk out there.
You haven't
and
even
look.
noticed.
No, I haven't. I've noticed piles of dirt out there.
That's it.
It's not pretty.
That's it.
Definitely not pretty.
Well, it's not like there's mud flung up everywhere. It's just dirt.
In piles. It hasn't even been spread out yet.
Not yet. That hasn't happened. You're correct. That is on my to-do list. I think I'm going to do that today. The kids and I are going to clean up the patio because I want to finish repotting those plants.
Yeah.
And, I have a whole thing for tomorrow. I'm thinking about moving that furniture to the front for the fireworks display and setting up food and whatnot. That's a whole side rail. So I'm vlogging now, and I'm vlogging my plants. And I'm redoing the kitchen currently. And I'm waiting on my little spice jars. I paid almost $60 for next day shipping to have all of my shit here. So it'd be ready by the 4th of July and I wouldn't have to work around a messy kitchen. Today's the 3rd.
Did you email them and tell them that they didn't ship expedited like you paid?
No, I have until the 5th. And then I can get my refund. But I'm also going to vlog that. I'm going to vlog the learning room that we have that I just redid for the kids. Pretty excited about vlogging. I think I look absolutely stupid. It's like this part of my face. I'm so lazy with it, and I'm honestly, I don't care about how well you guys can see me as long as you can hear what I'm saying. That's the point of it. And seeing what I'm doing. Not good angles of me.
Well, that's the thing, I guess. You gonna put that on Patreon only?
Yeah, it's gonna be Patreon only.
That's where I'm putting mine. Yep. I actually have been enjoying the vlogs. It gives me a reason to create something that's not just podcast content, but my life is not as exciting as everybody likes to believe it is. So eventually that's going to get real boring. It's going to be the same content over and over and over again. And at that point, I'm just going to stop doing it.
It's not
So.
the activities you're doing, though. It's just your thoughts through the day. And your vlogs are interesting. I enjoy watching your vlogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We have, I hate that we lost that last content.
It was good.
Yep. And I know that we're not going to be able to recreate it because it was authentic. And now if we try to follow in those steps, it's not going to be the same thing.
Yeah, a
I'm
lot of me crying and
pretty bummed out by that.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel like we need to catch everybody up that listens to the podcast versus watching, because I know that we do a lot of life shit on the live streams, but I don't know how much we've talked about in actual podcasts.
I have no idea either. They all blur together. This is all one long podcast for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
So then I guess I'll do a quick whiskey wall update. I'm not going to show it. If you want to see the whiskey wall, you can join Patreon. It's in one of my vlogs. But the whiskey wall is done. We have interviews set up already. We have one set up with a documentary filmmaker on the 13th of this month. I have an interview in the works with Conservative Ant on TikTok, who's going to probably come up from Fort Myers to the house and do like a podcast with us. Jeff Graham, Jordan from the t-shirt company that we order our shirts from. We got the Bobby the Alchemist, I think his name is.
I think that is it.
He's the I'll See Myself Out Now guy that records in his car. I'm excited about that one. Henry and Victoria Doss have said that they would like to be on the show. It's just a matter of making sure that our schedule is where our schedule needs to be, that we are where we need to be in terms of like actual record time, and then getting people in the studio to actually do what we're doing.
Do you know how dope it would be to have somebody to manage all of that and just say, hey, they're available Thursday at whatever time?
I mean, technically we could do that.
Yeah.
Through the Wizards in Discord, because they're already kind of handling all the forms and the back and forth of all of it.
I feel like we'd have to pay them a lot more for that.
Maybe. I mean, the worst that could happen is we could ask and they would say no.
Yeah.
But there's also things that I want to be involved in. We've also I've been back and forth with a sex therapist that I want to get on the show that's already agreed. But there's other things going on right now, and I just haven't had the time to sit down and read through the document that we sent out for them to fill out to make sure that they're there. I've actually there's like 7 or 8 interviews ready to go in terms of documents, and that I just need to read through, contact, and figure out who I want on the show and who I don't, is really what it comes down to. And I could have done that yesterday, but I did other shit yesterday, and I didn't want to do work-related stuff. Probably should have just done it yesterday, but the new schedule is kind of dope. It's nice to have days off.
I am loving it. I got so much shit done. Yeah. You seemed a little antsy yesterday, though.
I did?
Yeah.
I was depressed. I'm fucking going through it mentally. Like, I'm having a very, very hard time right now.
Right.
So much so that people that were in the live last night that watched the premiere this morning, they were like, you're so much happier today than you were yesterday. I'm like, this isn't live. This was 3 weeks ago. I was like, I'm not. I'm going through it right now. Like, I'm having a really hard time with some things. And it's not one of those things that, like, I'm just depressed because I'm depressed. I'm working through a lot of shit that I've recently gone through, and like I'm trying to process all of that shit emotionally, and like I'm having a really fucking hard time with some of it. And some of it, like, anyways, I don't want to get into that. It's funny that all of that comes down to paying attention and time, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Oh, this is Ruminations and Revelations episode 5.
Yeah.
We didn't even start with that.
No, we didn't.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Are these things that you've talked to me about, or is this?
Yeah, it's things that we've talked about.
Okay.
So we went to the Naples Botanical Garden on Friday. Saturday. Paid for the yearly pass so that we can start doing photography there more. Got some pretty dope macro photos. First time I've taken just a macro lens out. And I got some pretty gangster B shots, which is nice. Got a couple of nice flower shots too. A couple really good light shots. Like, the light was on point on Saturday. It was probably the highlight of the day. Was the light just was there. Like, normally when you do photography,
really,
there's a lot of looking and like fixing in Photoshop later, and Lightroom, and I didn't have to do any of that. But on the way back, we were listening to an audiobook, and for those of you who don't know, when you do the men's group in our Discord, there are a lot of prescribed things, prescribed workouts, prescribed dates, recommended reading, then we have discussions about it. We've created a community of men who are striving to be better. It's not a free thing. It's something that we charge for, and it is a limited seat thing. and it's not a pay once and you're in. It's a month-to-month thing. So if you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you drop out. That's the end of it. But we have built a community around people who are trying to level up in life. And one of the things that we do every single time is recommended book readings. And this book is a short one, so I'll be prescribing multiple books in a month depending on length. This one is called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. Let me go backtrack a little bit. Everything in the men's group is done by chapters. So like the first 2 months that we did was one group. We called it chapter 1. This one is only going to be a single month. This is chapter 2. Chapter 1 was all about discipline and accountability. Chapter 2 is about intent, living with intention. So of course, if you're living with intent, you need to understand time management. So that's why I grabbed this book, because it was recommended to me. I figured, fuck it. Why not have everybody read it? I was not prepared for this book at all. It's
good.
Not at all what I thought it was going to be. And in getting into this book, driving back from Naples, I had to pause it and like really process some shit. And it was like a 20 to 25 minute silence while I was working through everything. And then you and I had a very long discussion about all of it. And I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to recreate that, just like we're not going to be able to recreate the previous podcast we just recorded. But I still would like to have a discussion about this. And if it's only 30 minutes, it's only 30 minutes. If it's an hour, it's an hour.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking for the book on Amazon.
Okay. It's 4,000 weeks all spelled out. It's not numerical.
Okay.
So in chapter 5 of this book, there's something called, he calls it like the watermelon experiment or the watermelon something. And the chapter starts off about there being a BuzzFeed video during the 2016 election where they put rubber bands around a watermelon. And people were actually watching this for like an hour and 15 minutes before the watermelon finally exploded. And then some of the comments were like, I can't believe I just watched 45 minutes of people putting rubber bands around a watermelon. What am I doing with my life? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question.
right. So there was a lot of that in the comments, enough that he was able to actually talk about the watermelon experience. So from chapter 5 of that book, it's chapter 5 on Audible. I don't know what it actually is otherwise, but I took 3 points from the conversation that I heard in the car. The first one, which is originally what I paused, said, what you pay attention to will define for you what reality is. I paused that and I looked at you and I said, did you hear that? And you were like, nope, because you don't listen to audiobooks. You just space out while we're driving and play on your phone because you can't retain like I do.
Yeah.
Then you were like, no, and I played it back and you're like, okay. And I was like, that is our perception is reality. What you pay attention to will define for you what your reality is. Your perception is your reality based off the things that you pay attention to, what you invest in. That is your reality. There are other people in other worlds, other parts of the world who are struggling to find clean water. There are migrants making their way across dangerous countries trying to find a better life. There are people who are afraid to walk to their car in the morning going to work that they may get mugged. That's not our reality. It's probably not your reality either if you're sitting around on your device watching YouTube. The next thing said, a calculation by psychologist Timothy Wilson said, we are capable of consciously attending to about 0.00004% of the information bombarding our brain at any given moment.
That's such an insane number.
0.00004%. So, and while you look that up, I'm going to address this. So that means that when you are driving to work, you are probably only paying attention to your speed limit and what the car in front of you is doing while still trying to pay attention for pedestrians and things like that. What you're not paying attention to is, what the people in the car next to you are doing, what the clouds are doing, what the trees are doing. Like, you are focused so intent on driving to make sure that you're safe that you are missing the rest of the world around you. Now, when you stop at a stoplight, you have that pull back into reality where you can look at the drivers next to you and you can see what's going on and maybe check your phone, and like your reality shifts because you are no longer paying attention to staying alive at 80 miles an hour.
I was gonna say there's so many times where I grew up in the city that we're living in. Like, I was born in California. I've lived here almost all of my life. There are times when you're driving and I look at the window, I'm like, holy shit, what is that? How long has that been there?
Yeah.
When did they clear that lot? When did they build that?
Right.
It's just so out of my view of focus. It could have been 6 months since I last looked at that spot, and it feels like it was yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back and read all 3 of these paragraphs as one, but the final paragraph I wrote said, Your experience of being alive consists of nothing other than the sum of everything of which you pay attention to at the end of your life. Looking back, whatever compelled your attention from moment to moment is simply what your life will have been. So when you pay attention to something you don't particularly value, it's not an exaggeration to say that you are paying with your life. That was the final pause. I played it again, and then I paused the radio, and like you looked at me and you're like, we're about to say something, like processing. And 25 minutes went by of silence while I was running through all kinds of scenarios in my brain. So let me read all of this back to you. This was actually 3 snippets of a broader conversation, but these were the 3 points that stood out to me. And I have said over and over again that you can read a book and get a single nugget of information, and it will be worth the price of the book 10 times over. Mm-hmm. And I've never not had a book give me a single nugget of advice. So reading a book, even if it takes you a week or two, is not a waste of time if you gain one thing from it. I gained 3 from a single paragraph or a single chapter. What you pay attention to will define for you what reality is. For you, what reality is. A calculation by psychologist Timothy Wilson said that we are capable of consciously attending being the key word there, to about 0.00004% of the information bombarding our brain at any given moment, which means we can't pay attention to a whole lot. Your experience of being alive consists of nothing other than the sum of everything of which you pay attention to at the end of your life. Looking back, whatever compelled your attention from moment to moment is simply what your life will have been. So when you pay attention to something you don't particularly value, it's not an exaggeration to say that you are paying with your life. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a sentence.
So when you are on your deathbed and you're looking back at your life, we are going to have drama, work problems, telephone drama, like because we're on our phones constantly, political drama. You are going to look back on your life and you're going to have all of this bullshit that you pay attention to that does not serve you, filled with small memories like a childbirth or a wedding, a divorce, which could be a negative. You are going to get wrapped up in your life flashing before your eyes, and it's not going to be a positive.
No.
Because we are so caught up in paying attention to things that do not deserve our attention. People spend more time paying attention to social media, their cell phones, their boss, than they do their partner or their kids. There's not a real moment of I am present anymore. He talks about in the book that we are from birth taught to get ready for school. Like the age from, birth to 3 or 4 years old, you are getting ready to go to school so that once you're in school, you can get ready to go to middle school and then get ready to go to high school and then get ready to go to college, then get ready for your career, then get ready for your family, and then you fucking die. And while you're getting ready for your career and your family, your sole focus is leveling up and then teaching kids to get ready for things that we don't live in the present anymore. Everything is about that what's next. Okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And I'm fucking guilty of that, just like everyone else is. And I am a very big proponent of preaching, do the hard shit now so that you don't have to do it later. You grind and suffer now so that you get to enjoy that future. There's no guarantee that you're going to have a future. He talks about money and he talks about time. And he said that if we could open a wallet or open an app on our phone to see how much money we have, and we could do that with time, we would live our lives very differently because time is not an infinite resource. You can't make more of it. Mm-hmm. For you, your time is very fucking limited. And when it's gone, it's gone. And I am one of those people that I've done a lot in a very short amount of time in life. And I've put myself through a lot of hell and a suffrage. And I've done so much to get to where I am. But when I look back on my life, I don't have a lot of positive fuck yeah moments. I have little victories that I've celebrated along the way because I'm not where I want to be yet. And I'm so much further along than a lot of other people. You know what I mean? So when I look back on my life, I should be pumped about all of my accomplishments. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I don't know. When I look back at when you in 10 years, when you look back on the podcast in the first year of the podcast, what are the things that you think are going to stand out to you in terms of your memory?
A lot of things. A lot of exciting moments, a lot of silly moments, a lot of burnout.
I think the only thing that's positive that I'm going to remember through all of this is going to be the 1 million subscribers on TikTok and the 100,000 on YouTube. I think that will be the only positive thing that I look back on for this entire first year of the podcast. And I say that because when I look back on the tattoo shop, my first 2 to 3 years in business were not positive.
Yeah.
I didn't have amazing moments that I look back on. I look back and I see no sleep, and I see the fights that it caused and the time away from my family and being stressed out over finances constantly and working for free to make ends meet. Because if I could, buy one, get one, or whatever I had to do to make ends meet, that's what I was doing. And there's not big fucking victories for me. And when I look back on the last 13 years, because October will be 13 years that the shop's been in business, I don't see the little victories. I can if I look for them. But when I look back at the growth of all of it, I got to be honest, I see a lot of burned bridges and a lot of hardships and failures. And my brain, I have no choice but to pay attention to those things, because in the moment, those things could make or break the business. Those moments matter, and it sucks that it matters that it's negative, but it does. And if I look for positives, I can look at like all the shop outings. I can look for all the things that I've taken people to, gone on vacations with, like cars that I've purchased for people. Like I can look back on all kinds of dope shit, but I have to look for those moments. It's not just what I think of over the course of the last 13 years, because I've paid attention to so much other shit that has been so negative and clouded that the positive just isn't there. But it is there. It's just been such a small amount compared to everything else that's going on. I think about the podcast, and I got to be honest, in 10 years, when I look back at this, I'm going to be thinking about the days that I spent 15 hours editing over multiple days, back to back to back. And I'll think about, the disruptions that you and I had because of things that were going on between the emails and the time issues that we had. And like this has actually created conflict from time to time with us. And I'm going to see that too. And remember that like, this was a real fucking problem a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm going to look back, and I'm either going to look back and go, it was all worth it, or I'm going to look back and go, at least I fucking tried. And like, I really did put myself in some uncomfortable positions to try to make this happen.
Yeah. So then I guess the next question is if it comes down to the point where we become super successful at this, right? To be totally clear, I view this already as successful. I believe we have a successful podcast. 100,000 subscribers on YouTube is not nothing to scoff at. Like,
right.
We're doing better than most. There's obviously a lot that are doing better than we are, but like in the grand scheme of percentages, we are fucking mid-range at this point. We're doing advertisers now. We have sponsors for the podcast in terms of the actual streaming podcast. We're doing live reads. There's a lot of things that are happening that truly makes me view this as a success. 5 years from now, if this is still a thing and we're at 1 million subscribers and like we've turned this into a massive business and we're still able to sit down once a week or twice a week and record these podcasts and have fun doing it, and our life is better for it, and we get to vacation and travel and do seminars and fucking meet and greets, and like that will determine that level of success for me, and that will be my what's next as of now. So when we get to that point 5 years from now, if we've achieved all of that, will I still be going, okay, what's next? Because I don't think that I'm able to stop working. I don't believe that me as a person, I'm able to just retire. I need to have something going on. You saw what happened to me yesterday, sitting around the house with nothing to do. I need that like distraction.
Being occupied.
So am I going to be able to really just let go and be like in the moment and be present? Because when we're not doing shit and we're just watching TV, I'm checking metrics. I'm trying to look for content. I'm trying to look for things that we can talk about. I'm trying to learn new things about editing. Sorry, there was a distraction. You guys got a weird cut there. I don't remember what we were talking about. So with everything that we were just discussing, I don't know if we covered this in this one or the last one, so I'm going to just say it anyways. But we talked about in the last one the amount of attention people give to the things that don't really matter in their life. They're on their phone, they're dealing with work, they're dealing with things that don't pertain to like their household, and they're not present in the moment with their family. And for a lot of people that look back on their life, they miss that, I should have done this, I should have done that. The biggest thing is all the time wasted with drama and negativity and all that nonsense, when in reality, we should be paying attention less to our phone and more to our partner. And I wonder how much better our lives would be if we removed a lot of those distractions. There was a study done, or a thing done in that book, where they talk about a teacher who brings in some sand, some gravel, and some big rocks. And he challenges his students to put them all into a glass jar. And they always start with the sand and rocks trying to fill it up, and you can't get the big rocks in at that point. And the answer to that puzzle is to put the big rocks in first, then the sand, then the pebbles, and shake everything up so that it all mixes in together. Or the sand last. So
the rock, pebbles, and
right.
sand.
And the reason that is relevant in that book is because you should be paying attention to the big things that are happening in your life, and the really small shit doesn't matter.
It's just filler.
It's filler. That's it. It's empty calories. It's bullshit that's used to just take up space. And that is all of our pointless emails. It's the pointless conversations that we have. It's the endless scrolling on TikTok and Facebook. It's the bullshit assignments that our boss gives us because they can't justify having you at work if they're not having you on the clock actually doing something. It's a lot of that nonsense, and we get so caught up in, I'll get to the big stuff first. Let me just get all this little shit out of the way so I can really focus on the big stuff. You're never going to get to that big stuff. When you're replying to text messages and you're replying to emails and you're scrolling Facebook and you're scrolling TikTok and Instagram and you're getting those dopamine responses and your phone is constantly vibrating, you're going ding, you will always focus on those little things and you are never going to focus on the big things that matter the most. And that's where our attention needs to be placed. This episode makes me sound like a hypocrite.
Why?
Because I am that hustler. Suffer now, get everything accomplished that you want to accomplish early in life so that you can enjoy that shit later. Because eventually your body's going to stop working. Eventually your kids are going to be grown and moved out. You're going to want to live your life a little bit. Get that early retirement. Hustle, hustle, hustle. That's been my entire grind. My whole life is to get to that point. And honestly, if it wasn't for that grind and all of that work that I've done, we wouldn't have the ability to do what we are currently doing. So it's worth it. But how much did I miss in doing all of this? I missed my daughter's graduation. I've missed a lot of very important things in life looking back on that in the moment I couldn't do because I couldn't justify taking the time away from building what I'm building or missing the income to go do those things. And I know that there's resentment there for my kids because of it. I know that I have issues with it, but at the time I saw it as a necessity. How many people aren't willing to go do those things because they have other things that need their attention in the moment instead of being present and making those really good memories with the people that they love because they have a workload or because they have a boss breathing down their neck or because they're afraid that if they miss that one episode or that 1 hour of work or that one thing that the entire thing is going to fall apart. When in reality, it could make their work harder. It could make their life a little harder. Is it really going to be the end of the world? Probably not. But in the moment, we don't see it that way. In the moment, we see what we are fixated on and how we need to grow and level and grind and get to that next thing. Because if I can only get to this, my life would be dope. If I could only get that raise, if I could only get that new job, if only my wife would stop complaining, if only. Instead of being present in the fucking moment and not worrying about tomorrow and not worrying about all that shit. I've talked a lot.
So I did that math. What was that percentage you gave at the beginning?
0.00004.
So that's 1 in 400,000. So if we are only taking in 0.00004 of what is happening around us, we are missing 399,000 things that are happening. That's an insane thing to think about.
Right.
Is that just on a daily?
It's all the time.
Constantly, just every second that we're perceiving things.
Right.
So we're missing millions of things every single day.
Right. And here's an example of how that works, right? You and I are having a conversation. We are focused on the conversation. You are intently listening. I am thinking about the things that I'm saying before I say them so that we can be engaged in a conversation. What's currently happening in this room that we are aware of but not perceiving, there's a green plant behind me. There's a yellow gold light above me. There's 2 prints. There's a curtain, 2 chairs, LEDs. That TV monitor has a blue light behind it. There's a flag up there. There's camera lenses. All of the shit that's in this room is just background noise to us. It's static. It's not relevant to anything that's happening because this is what we're paying attention to. The things in this room matter. These chairs matter. The previous chairs were uncomfortable. So while we were having a conversation previously about whatever we were talking about, if I could feel the wood in the chair digging into my back, I was no longer focusing solely on your conversation. Now I'm focusing on the fact that this thing's digging into my back. And I have to shift my focus to those things to reposition myself. Our brain can't process all the information that comes into our eyes and into our head. It has to be filtered. And if it's not filtered, we'd go fucking crazy. We would never be able to like truly focus on anything because there would be too much going on.
That's why there's delayed reactions on things.
It really is. Yeah, because your brain's processing shit and was like, wait a minute, that's important. Go back.
Not even important. There's times where you'll say something and then 35 seconds later, I'm laughing about it.
Yeah.
There was that delay in processing. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I have a lot, but I can't remember what we talked about an hour ago and what we're talking about now.
I don't remember either.
There was a part of that book where that guy was talking about the way children are present in the moment versus the way adults are. Because when you were little, you don't have the grind mentality. You get to live in the moment and play and have fun.
You get to wake up, do whatever you want, go to bed, and do the same thing.
Right. He said that one of his biggest realizations was when his son was born, he was so focused on the way the brain works and how they need to study and how he needs to get ready for school and like all of the things that has to be taught to this child before he gets to the school level, that like he didn't really ever just truly enjoy the moment with his kid. And like one day his kid wrapped his little hands around his finger and like the kid was focused on the grip. And in that moment, to that child, nothing else mattered other than the fact that he was holding onto his dad's finger. And when he realized that like he wasn't focusing on what was going on with his kid, that he was focusing on everything else, he stopped. And he paid attention to the head movements and paid attention to the movements of the fingers and his motor control. And he was able to just live in that experience with his son. For the most part, people don't do that. The average family spends less than 35 minutes together as a family. Especially when it comes to parents and kids. 35 minutes, uninterrupted time where there's no tablets, no arguments, no homework, just existing together. And if you factor in TV, where people watch TV together, I'm sure that time is even less.
Yeah.
Because you can't factor in, you can't count the TV time. Because your focus isn't on each other, it's on the screen. It's a lot to think about when you think about a lot of this shit. It really solidifies my thought processes of your perception is your reality, the way that you view the world, the way that you understand things, the things that you invest your time into for the return that you're hoping to get later in life truly is your reality. And our realities differ so much. And because we are so disconnected that we're not present with each other a lot of the times, there's a lot of communication breakdown and conflicts that happen because you are living your own reality and so are they. And you want to enjoy the time together and live that reality in that same existence, and you can't. It's not possible. And this is why in the past we say you need to have grace with your partner. You need to understand that they have their own existence going on. It's not your world. It's your world is only your world. It's not theirs. Like you guys have a shared reality that isn't the same. I don't know. It's a lot to really think about and process. This book is fucking me up because there's things that like I've heard that I wasn't expecting to hear from a time management book.
Yeah. A lot of soul stuff versus time stuff.
I think it's just a lot of realizations, a lot of perspective and like altered perspective, because I know that time is the only thing you can't get back. You can never get time back. You can rebuild relationships. You can rebuild trust. You can always make more money. You can always until you die. Time you can't. Once that time is gone, it's over. You can't reclaim that shit. You're not getting it back. And you're never going to be as beautiful or as happy or as young as you are right now. Tomorrow you're going to be a little bit older. There might be a new wrinkle. Like there's going to be, that's the transition of life from birth to death. And you're not going to ever go back. It's only forward, and you can only plan and do more. But as you plan and as you invest and as you try to grow and you start making these plans and you live these plans, how much of that planning and going and trying to achieve is taking away from what you could be experiencing right now, right? Because we're not living our lives. We are working to death. We are working to die.
Yeah. How many times do you hear I get one day off a week and I have to get chores done? I have to go grocery shopping.
Right. But if you didn't have to do all that, what would you really be doing?
Nothing.
You'd be focusing on your phone. You'd be screen time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be focusing on those other things. The things that we use to distract us, when removed, we will find new things to distract us because we are too busy worrying about when, if only, that level up, that we do not allow ourselves to truly be present. When we go on vacation, I'm not always present. A lot of the times I'm worried about what's going to happen because of the workload that I've missed, or what happens or if we were at home right now, we could be knocking out 3 or 4 more recordings, or I could be at the shop, or I could be doing new t-shirt design. I could be doing something other than being here right now. Is this really a waste of my time? Like I go through that. I deal with that hard. And when I'm here and I'm doing all of this shit, in the back of my head, I'm like, I really need a vacation. I need to decompress. I need to get away from all of this, because at the end of the day, none of this really matters. This is a byproduct of what I want to have in life. And if I die tomorrow and this is all I've done, I've worked my 42 years of existence for a few vacations. Like, what if I don't make it to that retirement? How much of my life am I truly missing because of everything that I've got going on? And on the flip side of that coin, you can't neglect doing that, because if you do, you lose everything. We get so accustomed to our comfort that we work to strive to maintain that comfort level. And a lot of people hit that paralysis when they get to that comfort level. They don't want to do anything more or less because they have that comfort. And then you're just focusing on keeping it.
Maintaining.
Whereas I want more than all of this. I want to continue to grow and thrive. And I know that there's a whole lot of work that comes into it. And I know that in the long run, if I make it to that point in life and I have that what if, all of this will be worth it. I look back on being homeless, all of this is fucking worth it. The whole grind has been worth it to me, because even though I have all these distractions and my attention goes from negative thing to negative thing, and that's a stress factor for me, my life is dope as shit. I do have those moments where I look around and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I get a text message and that image of everything that I've got comes crumbling down and I have to put out another fire. It's always that next thing. That whole looking back on your deathbed and realizing that your life is a series of moments of things that you pay attention to, it fucked me up, because it's not your life flashes before your eyes.
No, it's the things that you chose to look at.
Right. It's the things that you didn't ignore. It's the things that you put all of your time and effort into. If you look back on all your failed relationships and failed marriages and problems with your kids, it's because of the things that you chose to pay attention to and you overlooked or ignored the other things. And a lot of the times, and this comes into the accountability thing that we talk about all the time, if you go back and look at those things and, okay, what could I have done better? What did I do wrong? How do I learn from this? You're now paying attention to something you should have fucking paid attention to while you were living in it instead of after the fact. And yes, it will make you better to dissect those things, because you know how to change who you are as a person, your behavioral patterns, to get better. But that's exactly that scenario. You're now back to learning to go to school, preparing for the next grade, preparing for the next school, preparing for college. You're reflecting on what you should have done so that you can do it better next time, instead of living in the moment. And then next time comes, you're going to be caught up in everything that you did wrong in the last time, focusing on trying to learn behavioral patterns, that your focus is still there. How much of that is actually being present in the moment again? This is what my brain does. This is why I went through that 45-minute silence or 25-minute silence in the car.
I mean, I think that's important.
Is it?
If you're unable to dissect things and really challenge the aspects of the way you live your life, what are you doing? Just hanging out in a 7-Eleven bathroom? What?
So with all of that time that you put in dissecting and looking into trying to be better, you are preparing yourself for a better future. How much of the present are you missing because you're not living in the moment while you're doing that?
I think there's a healthy balance to all of that.
So what does that look like?
So when I'm sitting outside underneath a tree and I'm reading my book, there are times where my mind will just drift and I'll realize I just don't have the attention span to read right now. And then I sit with my thoughts and I explore things and I look at things and I see how I can grow and be better. And if something causes me anxiety, if I am comfortable exploring it at that time, I will. When we're on a date sitting at dinner, I'm not going to sit there and follow those trains of thoughts. I put that in my back pocket and be like, oh, we're going to revisit that under the mango tree.
Yeah. It's not actually a mango tree.
I know, it's a kumquat tree, but I just keep calling it a mango tree.
You've named it mango?
I think
so that way it is a mango tree? That way you're never wrong. The tree's name is mango.
Yeah.
So don't try to correct her, or you're wrong.
This is my kumquat tree. I named it mango.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel so validated right now. Thank you. You have to time manage your time management.
Yeah.
I really think that there are appropriate times to sit down and self-reflect and really focus on you, and then there's times where kind of just have to put it away and be present in the moment. At the splash pad with the kids, put the phone away and stop the family drama.
Right. I agree with that, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
So this also ties into the vacation thing. And again, I can't remember if this was this episode, but I know I talked about it in the last one. So if you guys are getting repetitive shit, I apologize. But in the moment where you're doing the splash pad with the kids and you're putting the phone away and you're living in the moment with your children, if you are one of those people who are working to retire, to travel the world and have vacations, even in those moments, you are never going to focus on the big rocks first. You're going to start working on the small, easily obtainable things so it feels like you're making progress. So you're doing like day trips, or like you're going to like the next state. You know what I mean? Or like you're going to go stay at the beach even though you live 15 minutes from it. You're not really doing the big adventures, because what happens if I'm gone and something happens? Or what happens if I blow all my money on that big trip and I can't do all these other little things that I want to do? There's all of those waiting for that next thing that will come. So you're focusing on the wrong things. You're putting the attention on the wrong things. Now, in that same scenario with the vacation thing, if you want to have those big vacations, like Iceland is a big one for me. When we check that off of our bucket list, I'm going to go, okay, what's next? And if I don't have another big thing and I get focused on doing little things, going to Vegas, going to Washington, going to Banff National Park, like having those little experiences that I don't ever get another big experience, there will be that regret of not chasing those big dreams, because I know at one point in my life, if I would have only not done X, Y, Z, I could have put off and done the big one. On that same thought process, is if I put off X, Y, Z, hoping to do that big one, and I die beforehand, X, Y, and Z never got to be experienced.
Yeah.
I hate my brain.
It's a lot to think about. And it's almost like a tug of war.
It is. It's constant.
It is. And sometimes one is going to pull a little bit harder than the other. And one might slip and it's going to go very far one way. It really is a fine balance between the two.
So to relate all of this to relationships, how much time are you paying attention to your partner and the important things in your relationship versus all of the little distractions that if you just get done, you can spend more time with your person? Because we do that. Everyone does it. I got to clean. I have to take care of the kids. We got to do homework. We have to have dinner. We have to order food. We have to do whatever it is that we have to do. And then it's bedtime. All right, well, fuck it. We did everything. We normally go to bed at 10. It's 10 o'clock. Let's go to bed. You've missed your entire day with your person because you're caught up on all the small shit that didn't really need your attention, or you've chose to do them separate to try to get them done faster so that you can have that time. There's actually a law, as they call it, like Murphy's Law. It's called, I want to say Hutchinson's or something like that. But it is the law of, if you give yourself an hour to do something, it's going to take you an hour and a half. So if you give yourself 2 hours to do it, you should be able to get it done in an hour and a half. It's probably going to take you 2.5 hours instead. And that's one of those things that when you allot yourself a certain time limit to do something, it will always take you longer in that time frame than it would have if you just did it. Because okay, I have 2 hours to get this done. You will try to take up that full 2 hours instead of just doing the work. That's also in that book. So for people who have that relationship where we have this, and this to do before we can sit down and relax, do you really need to do all of those things right now? The really small things like checking your phone or, putting the dishes away when you can just eat out of the dish drainer, or out of the dishwasher for that matter. Those small things add up over time. How much time are you wasting on the sand and pebbles when you should be focusing on the rocks? And the relationship that you have with the people that you love the most is those rocks.
Right.
That moment, what you pay attention to in the fucking moment are those large rocks. The sand and pebbles should be the what if and the plans that are coming along the way. I talked a lot in this, and I got to be honest, I don't want to keep going. I'm not in a very good headspace, and I don't want to keep doing this. So I think we're an hour in. Is there anything that you would like to add to this, or do you want to just call it?
I think we should just call it, yeah.
All right. With that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you found value in any things that we have talked about, please share the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you were listening to this on streaming podcast sites, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or whatever, please check out our YouTube channel. YouTube gets so much more content, live streams, Q&As, all of that shit that you guys don't get. And we want to build our community around YouTube more than the streaming platforms. So check out the content there.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Share the content. If you don't want to support us in any other way, share the content with people you think that would like it. With that being said, guys, remember that you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.